So it's been about 6 years ever since the Boruto series was released. Back in 2016, the manga had its debut in Shonen Jump, and then a year later, the Boruto anime makes its first debut with the first ever episode. Now, Boruto as a series had crazy expectations as it was the sequel to Naruto, one of the greatest and biggest series in all of anime and manga. Now, although there was a bunch of people who loved the fact that Naruto was getting a sequel due to the fact that we got Kaguya out of the blue, there was also a bunch of people who hated it from the jump and only thought of Boruto as a cash grab series, especially since Kishimoto wasn't going to be the one writing Boruto and also wasn't going to be doing the art for the series as well. Kishimoto also moved on to a whole nother series, but we know how tremendously Samurai 8 flopped. Now, when the first chapter of Boruto comes out, there was a bunch of controversy, as the first few scenes were a little bit concerning to Naruto fans, as we get the iconic scene of future Boruto and future Kaoki fighting over the fate of the world, with the most concerning words that a Naruto fan could hear: "I'll send you the way of Lord Seventh." Now, with these words being spoken out of Kaoki's mouth, everybody went into turmoil. Basically, everybody wanted to know, did Naruto actually die? Like, who's this Kaoki kid? How did he kill Naruto? What did he do to Naruto? There were so many questions being thrown around, even though there still are to this day, but back then it was a bunch of chaos. There was a lot of people who loved the idea of Naruto dying, but there was also a lot of people that just despised the even a possibility that Naruto would die. But that wasn't even the first set of controversy that came out during the first chapter of Boruto. With Kaoki saying that line about Naruto, people started to wonder, where is Sasuke? Is Sasuke dead? As Boruto had all of Sasuke's clothing, such as his sword, his cloak, and his headband, people then started to wonder, yo, is Sasuke dead? But that was just the opening scene. Everybody had something to say about the first chapter, no matter what, from start to finish, because not only was it a new writer for the Boruto series, it was also a new artist. And if you notice, the art style from Naruto to Boruto is a significant downgrade. Kishimoto completely butchered all of Kishimoto's characters. You would think that a fan artist was drawing the manga. Like, some of his designs for Kishimoto's characters were absolutely horrendous, like Hinata, Himawari, Inojin, Sasuke, and the worst one of all was Sarada. Like, the way he drew the OG characters in the first chapter was absolutely like insanity. Like, there was no way he was able to get away with that. Like, Naruto himself also looked bad in the first chapter. Like, if you compare all of Kishimoto's characters in Kishimoto's style and compare them to Ikimoto's style, you'll see a major difference. Now, this would also bring major hate to the series and steer a lot of people away from the series itself. The art style was absolutely horrendous, but it was also the first chapter, so people wanted to see how Ikimoto would improve. But what really rubbed people the wrong way was the fact that it was also adapting the Boruto movie. So shockingly enough, people did not want to see another Boruto the movie in manga form. So basically, the Boruto series was basically set up in the first chapter. So people basically started to hate on it, calling it a Boruto GT. Oh, it's not canon. Oh, what is this series? Oh, it's trash. A bunch of just calling it a bunch of lame stuff. And first impressions mean a lot to people. So if Boruto wasn't able to impress people on his first chapter, it was basically set up to be slandered. But if we fast forward all the way into the Momoshiki fight, this is where we get our first original content with Momoshiki's new form. Now, this is one of the few instances where Ikimoto actually outdid Kishimoto. His design for Momoshiki was way better than Kishimoto's design. But after Boruto defeats Momoshiki, this is where we get another iconic line from the series. And that line says, "Those blue eyes will one day take everything away from you." This is where we find out that the Boruto series isn't about a boy who wants to become Hokage or wants to be recognized by everybody. This is the series of a boy who once had everything, but then loses everything. Now, with this line being stated, people wanted to stay and tune in for Boruto's fate in his future. This is when people started creating theories saying that maybe Boruto was the one that destroyed Konoha in the future. But then after the Momoshiki fight, Boruto then gets a strange mark on his palm. This would be a major focal point for the series moving forward. But then after the Momoshiki fight, Boruto then moves on to another semi-boring arc, the Mujina Bandits arc. Now, the Mujina Bandits arc was really the Boruto series' first original arc. So this is when people could actually judge the series and not by the Boruto the movie stuff, but the actual series itself. Now, although the Mujina Bandits arc wasn't bad, it also wasn't good either. But the main focus of the arc was basically Boruto having to bodyguard some little kid. from a bunch of bandits. Now, the art for this arc wasn't outstanding. I'm gonna be honest, the art for this arc was actually bad. Now, with the Boruto series having bad art, now this would just make room for even more slander. Like, Ikimoto got put on the sus radar because Sarada's design was absolutely atrocious. She's wearing a dress with heels. Yes, a dress with heels. Now, isn't Sarada supposed to be a ninja? And she's only 12 years old in this arc, so Ikimoto drawing Sarada the way he was drawing Sarada was absolutely just like insane. It was disgusting. We even got panels of Sarada changing, but like, that's besides the point. The main bread and butter for this arc didn't come until the end, just like the Momoshiki arc. But this time we get introduced to Kara, the villain organization for Boruto. Now, this is where the Boruto is a ripoff of Naruto take started to come from, because then people started to call Kara a knockoff Akatsuki, when in all actuality, the Kara organization was absolutely different from the Akatsuki. They work different than the Akatsuki. Think of Kara as an actual organization that's working in the shadows, while the Akatsuki is just a gang. Like, Kara would be the ones hiring the Akatsuki to do their dirty work. But with Kara being introduced, this would be where the story actually started to pick up. So this is where we enter the Owl arc. Now, even I can't defend how this even happened, and that was Owl surviving the Ten Tails blast. Like, this actually did not make any sense. Like, that should have literally been impossible. Like, this is one of those things, like, the plot needed to just like move forward basically, but that does not change the fact that it was actually stupid on how he survived. But this arc was really great build up for what was about to come. We got great development from the character of Boruto, and we also got introduced to the main character, well, the second main character, the one who would be responsible for Naruto's fate, and that was Kaoki. Now, Kaoki had the best introduction in the series in both the manga and anime, but also the art for this arc was actually way better than usual. This would actually be peak Ikimoto art. But moving on into the Kaoki arc, we actually figured out and found out how Kaoki is. And of course, people were saying that Kaoki was a ripoff of Sasuke, which was just straight up false in any sort of capacity. But with Boruto being a punching bag for the last 2 years due to the arcs being literally subpar, Boruto needed this arc to be great. Like, people even started to bring up the manga sales for Boruto, even though the manga sales were actually pretty average. Although for a sequel of Naruto, it wasn't doing good in the manga sales department, but like, in all actuality, it was actually doing pretty good. But another nitpick and problem that arose during this arc was the fact that Naruto and Sasuke were always nerfed and were always involved in all of the big fights of Boruto. Like, people legit started saying, yo, why are Naruto and Sasuke always fighting the big bad guys? Like, why are they fighting gods? Why can't the new gen do it? Now, although that statement is true, you people lack serious common sense. Like, do you actually believe that Boruto should be fighting Jigen? That's like saying, why is Hiruzen fighting Orochimaru? Why isn't Naruto doing it? Like, it doesn't make sense at all, does it? But that wasn't the only thing haters were bringing up. They were also bringing up the fact that Naruto and Sasuke were nerfed. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I agree with this statement wholeheartedly, and that's because we never saw Naruto and Sasuke cut loose. Like, yeah, we got the Momoshiki, Jigen, and Ishiki fights, but out of all those fights, we never saw Naruto and Sasuke use their full ability. Like, going into Boruto, we expected Naruto and Sasuke to be like gods, like literal gods. Like, the Valley of the End fight literally proved to us, like, showed us how strong Naruto and Sasuke was. So as adults, you would think that they would be even stronger. Now, don't get me wrong, they are stronger as adults, but the way they were portrayed in Boruto, it just made them feel like they got weaker. Like, we never really saw Sasuke use his Rinnegan abilities. Like, he only used like the switching ability. Like, Sasuke in Boruto was really just a one-trick pony, and the fact that they nerfed him the way they did really just left a bad taste in my mouth. Whoa, pause. But that wasn't the only problem. People started to say, oh, Boruto needs the old gen to stay relevant, because during that time we got the reveal of Kashin Koji being a Jiraiya clone, and the fact that Ao survived the Ten Tails blast miraculously, and the added bonus of Naruto and Sasuke. The real truth to those statements was basically Kashin Koji is a clone of Jiraiya. He isn't Jiraiya at all. He is not like Jiraiya at all. He's a clone. And Ao came back as a completely different character with a completely different mindset. So that statement statement truly did not make any sense. But that's all for me talking about the manga. It's time to get into the anime. Now, the Boruto anime has to be one of the most hated animes of all time. But there's some valid reasons on why the anime is hated as much as it is now. Because I'm gonna be honest, the fact that the anime started a year after Boruto just got released was actually concerning. Like, they started the anime not even a month after Naruto Shippuden stopped airing. Although the first few anime arcs were canon, such as the Nue arc, the Mist arc, the Sarada arc, like, they were all canon. But there were also some episodes that straight up just felt like filler, which would start the myth of the Boruto anime was 80% filler, which really in all actuality, the Boruto anime just had anime canon. And anime canon basically just means, yeah, these are anime original episodes, but they're canon to the story. An example of these arcs are basically the Mitsuki arc, the Blood Prison arc, and the Kara Actuation arc. The Blood Prison arc was connected to the Mujina Bandits arc, the Mitsuki arc also covered Onoki's death, and the Kara Actuation arc also went in depth with Kara. Like, some of the manga canon episodes had anime canon in it, such as Kaoki's backstory with the goldfish and the fisherman. Now, I won't lie to you guys and say that some of the anime canon arcs aren't boring. Like, some of them are just a straight up snooze fest, such as the Jugo arc, the second half of the Mitsuki arc, and the Time Slip arc was just straight up trash, bad. The way they disrespected Sasuke in that arc was absolutely atrocious. But the anime isn't as bad as people make it out to seem. Like, when they adapt the manga canon episodes, those are really good. Like, the anime is top tier when they adapt manga canon episodes. But the anime also does a few things better than the manga, such as the world building. Now, although the world building in the anime is bare minimum, you can kind of see how the other villages function. If you want to see side characters, I guess you should watch the anime, even though the side characters are trash in the anime too. Like, you have Metal Lee getting beat up by a damn bear. But yeah, the anime has some of the same problems as the manga did, but the anime just had like a bunch of like anime canon and filler episodes in the middle of it. So that made the slander for Boruto grow even more, I guess. Now, by all means, do I think that Boruto is a perfect series and there's nothing wrong with it? No, of course not. But I do believe that the Boruto series is lacking in its villain department, basically. Like, we're coming from a series like Naruto that was rich with villains such as Madara, Obito, Pain, Nagato, Zabuza, like so many great villains. And then we get into Boruto and there's like almost all the villains are just trash. Like, Boruto also lacks in his side characters too, because like the side characters are so bad, man. Like, they're so bad. Like, the anime like includes them in the story, but like they just do the bare minimum and they're just like so bad, man. Like, the thing I have a problem with is the way they write Sasuke. Like, Sasuke just seems so emotionless, like it's not even funny. Like, Sasuke just seems so bland in this sequel, but that's just my opinion. But I do believe that Boruto suffered from the fact that people had super high expectations for this series from the start. Like, people wanted this series to be better than Naruto, but there was just a high chance that it wasn't. But tell me what y'all think about Boruto down below in the comments. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and also follow my Twitter link in the description. And I'm out. Peace.